Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Khushi and today in this video I am going to cover one more important question for the university exam from the general anatomy. Let's start. So the topic today which I am going to cover is classification of joints. In this topic we will be learning about the definition of joint, what is the classification of joint, and in that classification further the several other classifications. What is the definition of joint? Joint is a junction between two or more bones. So here joint is a junction between two or more bones. Classification. So the classification is of two types. One is the functional and the other is the structural. The functional is based on range and type of movement and they permit. So how many types of movement the joint is permitting? On that basis, we divide into functional, while structural is based on their anatomical structure and also on type of connective tissue binding two adjacent articular bones. Presence or absence of synovial cavity in between the articulating bone is also one of the bases on which we classify into structural. Further, we will study each individual classification in detail. First, the functional classification. In this classification, we have synarthrosis, amphiarthrosis, and diarthrosis. The first one, which is the synarthrosis, has no movement. There will be no movement occurring on synarthrosis. The example of synarthrosis is a fibrous joint. Then we come to the second one, amphiarthrosis, which has slight movement, and its example is cartilaginous joint. Then we have diarthrosis, which has movement present. Also, it has cavity present, and also this is called as synovial joint. And the example for this joint is shoulder joint. Now further, we will study about the structural classification of joint. In this, we will be studying three types. First is the fibrous joint, second is the cartilaginous joint, and the third one is the synovial joint. Now in this type of joints, the first one is the fibrous joint, which is the bone are connected to each other by fibrous tissue. The bone are connected to each other by fibrous tissue. And there is no movement in fibrous joint. There is no synovial cavity. And examples of this type of joint are suture, syndesmosis, and gomphosis. The second one, which is the cartilaginous joint, the bones are held together by cartilage. In fibrous, there is fibrous tissue. In cartilaginous joint, there will be cartilage. Here also there is absence of synovial cavity. And the example of this type of joint is synchondrosis or symphysis. And the last, third one, synovial joint. It permits free movement and it has presence of synovial cavity. Also, the ends of articulating bones are covered by articular cartilage, and the joint is covered by fibrous capsule. And also this fibrous capsule is lined by synovial membrane. And the example of this type of joints are most of the joints of the body, like the shoulder joint, the hip joint, etc. Now, that's all for today. Thank you. Do like, share, comment, and subscribe.